Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Lounging with Leonie. I am your host, Leonie. Today we are going to talk all things rock climbing, and joining me on the lounge is the wonderful climbing extraordinaire and climbing coach, Chieh. Welcome to the lounge.
Hello.
Thank
Yep.
you for joining me on the lounge.
Thank you. Yep.
You're a climbing coach?
Yeah. It's better off to describe me as a climbing coach than anything else. Because I'm doing that full time right now.
Right.
I think I started doing this full time just before COVID-19.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Literally just before COVID-19, and then when COVID-19 hit, like, what a bad time.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask
Yeah.
because I got into climbing right after the first COVID lockdown happened. How did that impact you and the climbing community?
I don't think it impacted us. Well, actually, yeah, it did impact us quite greatly, actually. Being climbers, we're pretty adaptive. So climbers started building their own indoor climbing gyms and things like that. Climbers would find nearby cracks to climb. Basically, it just didn't stop them from climbing.
Yeah.
The guys who are stuck in apartments would have like their little beastmaker hole hung onto their door frame, and they were just training for that 3 months we were in lockdown and things like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, with regards to my situation, because I was a small business at the point in time, still a small business, the government was helping us a lot with
good.
regards to grants and things like that. And because of the COVID-19, I think there's this. The COVID-19 has exponentially kind of people wanted to climb.
Yeah.
It's like just straight after 3 months being stuck at home, they just wanted to get out there. People who didn't know about climbing started wanting to know about climbing as well.
That was me.
Yeah, that's what I felt. Yeah, and suddenly I'm getting emails, I'm getting calls, I'm getting messages from Instagram. People asking, "Hey, do you do coaching and things like that?" And it's almost a blessing in disguise that this COVID-19 has created a whole new market for me. Yeah. So to a certain degree, it was a good thing to a certain degree. Yeah.
Yeah. So what type of people do come to you for coaching?
A lot of it right now, I get like young climbers who are interested in doing competitions and things like that. And I guess a lot of it is because they've seen they've seen a lot of these young climbers who are in competition and stuff like that. They've seen my climbers performing on the state competitions, national competition and things like that. And having seen how they perform, and I think they paint a really good reflection on my coaching, I guess. So they've been a great testimony for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because of that, they wanted to know who was coaching them at the point in time, and then they found me, and then I'm not that person who likes to go around telling people that I'm a coach and things like that. I think most of you didn't really get that as well.
Yeah.
And I don't go around putting Instagram and stuff like that saying that I'm a coach and things like that. So a lot of it was very much through word of mouth at the point in time, and then subsequently it just grew bigger and bigger and exponentially. Right now I'm handling a whole bunch of national youth climbers that I don't know if I can handle. Yeah, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still trying to make sure that every young climber that comes to me receives the same kind of attention that I would give to 9 years ago when I was training climbers like, some of you might even know people like Sam and Liam, the Healy brothers and things like that. Well, I must say at the point in time, I wasn't as experienced as now. I believe that if at that point in time, if I would have coached them at the point in time, I could have done better.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what actually got you into coaching? I assume that you've been a climber for a very long time.
I wouldn't say that long. I only started climbing when I was like 23.
Okay.
Yep. 23 years old, and now just to get you guys to have a better understanding of how old am I? I'm actually 44 years old right now.
Wow. I would not have
that's
guessed.
So I've only really been climbing for about 20 years, if you
Yeah.
think about it. Yep. And at the point in time, being 44 years old, at the point in time, living in Singapore, living in Southeast Asia, parents are like that. Climbing is dangerous, scuba diving is dangerous. Don't do them, right? If you do them, I kill you myself.
Oh my god, Asian parents,
That's right,
man.
yeah. So, I didn't really get a chance to really do any of these dangerous things. The most dangerous thing I was allowed to do was skateboarding.
Oh.
Yeah. Mountain biking as well and things like that. So anything with regards to scuba diving, rock climbing, mountaineering, or anything like that was considered way too dangerous. Skydiving was no. So it was only when I came here to study in the year 2003. It was then my mind was I wanted to become a mountain guide. Yeah, and so to become a mountain guide, you need to be good at. You don't need to be an expert at it. Obviously, it's good that if you're an expert of doing cross country skiing, wilderness first aid, rock climbing, no, track climbing, traditional climbing, abseiling, camping. Everything that requires you to get up Mount Everest, basically.
Yeah.
All right. So that was what I was aiming to be. I wanted to become a mountain guide and maybe live in Nepal at the point in time. Yeah.
That's a dream.
Yeah, that was that dream at the point in time. And then I was actually working towards that direction. I even did some time learning how to fly a plane, things like that. And yeah, I did a lot of scuba diving at the point in time as well. And then I spent a lot of time doing hiking and moving in the mountains and things like that. And one day I was in Mount Kira. I'm not sure if you guys know where Mount Kira is.
Where is Mount
That's
Kira?
that's in Wollongong.
Okay.
Yep. And I was just doing some small hike with some of my friends. I said, hey, let me bring you up for some small hikes in Mount Kira. It was a big hike for them. It was a small hike for me. So I went up there and then I saw these two old gentlemen in their mid-40s doing some track climbing. So they're putting gears in there and stuff like that. And I looked at them climb like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I want to do. and I was this young little Asian boy standing there with my jaw dropping like that. Wow, that is what I want to do. And one of these gentlemen over there saw me doing that. He turned around, he looked at me and said, do you want to try? Like, oh, okay. That's really friendly.
Yeah.
And so he took off his harness and he gave it to me and his friend belayed me up.
Oh wow.
Yep. And that was my first time doing actually rock climbing, things like that. Yeah.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah.
So that was when you were like 23
23
years old.
No, I was actually younger. Wait. Okay, I need to retrace it back. So I went to the military when I was 18, 3 years in the military. So I was actually 22. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was around 22. And yeah, somewhere around 22, 23 when I first experienced actually rock climbing. And then the funny thing is that I never knew there was such thing as indoor rock climbing.
Right.
So I spent the next 1 year just climbing outdoors, learning how to lead climb, learning all these things outdoors and things like that. And then one day it started raining. And a friend of mine that was teaching me all these things is from Norway, a Norwegian basically. He and his wife or his girlfriend then, in fact, they got married. I'm still very much in touch with them. And he called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to go for a climb?" I'm like, it's raining, and I didn't know that in Norway it always rains.
Yeah, the weather is
That's
not
right, yeah.
that great.
That's right. And he's like, "So?" I'm like, "So it's raining. We're not climbing in the rain." And it's like, it rains in Norway every day. So,
Yeah.
and so, well, if you don't want to climb outdoors, we can climb indoors. I'm like, what do you mean by indoors? And then he brought me to an indoor climbing gym that was in Wollongong, and that's called Hang Dogs at the point in time. It's still there. And that was my first indoor climbing gym. And I was like, whoa.
That is so interesting because I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people these days, their first climbing experience is indoors. So, yeah, having that transition to going to outdoors is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Do you think like what you learn indoors is easily transferable to outdoor climbing?
I guess at that point of time, yes. Right now, the sport has evolved so drastically whereby the climbs can be very acrobatic, very parkourish. It's quite hard to translate that kind of movements to outdoors climbing. Right? And then the same thing for an outdoor climber to translate it back into the modern sport climbing indoor competition style is quite different. And that's why being able to climb, say, a V10 outdoor doesn't mean you can climb a competition climb indoor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the movements are quite different in that way, which is the reasons why I hate to say this. Our Australian climbers didn't fare that well for the Olympics.
Oh, yes. They didn't do that
Yeah,
great.
and not because they're not great climbers. They were really good outdoor climbers. But I think they themselves did admit that they did not spend enough time practicing on plastic climbs, on all these new movements and things like that. And because of that, they're not so accustomed to competition climb style. Yeah.
Yeah. So most of my climbing has been indoors. You see me around.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you took me out outdoor climbing, and I think the experience is like completely different. There's like so much more you have to think about. Like indoors, it's like everything's kind of like color guided for you, and then outdoors, it's like, where do I put my hand? Where do I put my feet? Yeah. So climbing has exploded in popularity, and now we're seeing it in the Olympics. How does that make you feel as somebody who's been doing this for so long?
Being being in the Olympics as a sports performance coach is definitely a very, very good thing for the exposure of this sport to the world, basically. It's like, even just recently, 5 years ago, if I were to walk around the street of Sydney and I say, do you know what indoor climbing is? Oh, yeah, birthday party. For kids, all right. Okay. And I do get people walking into the climbing gym saying, this is easy, this is easy. I mean, that we're talking about like 5 years ago. And then they'll be climbing on multicolors and things like that. And then they'll get down and I say, can you just try climbing on the blue one? And they're like, this is hard. I guess the education at that point in time was really, really hard. It was very slow. People didn't get it. People didn't understand how hard indoor climbing can be as well. Because at the point in time, everybody thought that it's just for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do see brothers bring in their younger brothers, and they will let their younger brothers climb, and they refuse to climb because they think this is kiddie palace, basically.
Yeah.
Yep. And not realizing how difficult the sport is.
Yeah.
And even until now, trust me, some men out there, right? Not being sexist here, but I guess I am.
I mean,
Yep. He's gonna just watch Yanya climbing and like, look at that small scrawny girl climbing there. How hard is that?
Yeah.
Trust me, some people out there is going to think like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing whereby you see a golfer swing the golf club, all right, onto the ball, and how hard is that? Seriously, until you try it for yourself, like, my goodness, it requires a lot of skill
Yeah.
to hit a golf ball.
Yes. I mean, when I watch Yanya, I'm just like, oh my God, she's like out of this world.
Yep.
Like, do you think there is a physique? Like, are between men and women in terms of like climbing and talent and skill? Do you see a difference there?
I guess when it comes to women climbers, they tend to be more flexible. And you have seen multiple pictures of how they're able to raise their knees all the way to their head level, and or bring their heels all the way to their head levels, and things that guys will find it a bit of an issue or challenge to try and do something like that. With regards to guys, definitely we know they're a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
They are able to make more dynamic moves that's a lot more explosive compared to a lady, a woman climber. And then we talk about the natural physique of a male climber. His arm, his ape intact is so much further than the pro female climbers. And they're also taller. So I think we still struggle with that same notion as when we look at other sports like long jump, high jump, and things like that, gymnastics and things like this. At the end of the day, I haven't really seen a woman climber who's able to, probably she's able to outwit a male climber, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, but in terms of physics wise, I've not really seen one yet.
Yeah, in terms of like strength.
That's right. Yeah, if we think about one of the strongest female climbers that we can think of, like Alex Pichu and things like that, don't know. She doesn't have that span that some of these men has. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still going to be a disadvantage for her, regardless how strong she is. And I'm pretty sure she's so much stronger than some of the men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
climbing is not only just about strength, it is about like a lot of technique and solving the problems on the wall, which is why I love it, because it kind of feels like exercise, but not really, because you're trying to solve a problem, which is why I love climbing. And it's also like you focus on the problem at hand and everything else in your life kind of just fades away. Do you see climbing as beneficial for like mental health as well as physical health?
If I'm not wrong, there was a research done. I think it's only one paper, so it's not considered scientific since it's only one paper. Oh, wait a minute. That paper itself is considered scientific, but we probably might need a lot more research to say that this is something ongoing. That climbing, especially bouldering, helps with depression and anxiety. It helps with ADHD as well, or ADD. And if you've actually done climbing, you realize that unless you put that 100% focus, you cannot do it. Yeah. The minute your mind drift away to something else, you will fall. So when somebody who has got a certain level of depression, anxiety, or especially depression, or let's say we're talking about ADD, somebody who's just constantly looking at that and looking at this and stuff like that, and then suddenly he realized that he likes climbing and he puts his 100% on climbing, he cannot afford to be distracted and look at different things. And because of that, he's forced to just focus on that one thing. And I think the thing about people who are ADD or ADHD, the minute they put their attention on one thing that they like to do, they go 110% on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think climbing becomes like that for them.
Yeah.
And then also it helps them to control their emotions, knowing how to control their excitement as well. Otherwise, because the minute they get overly excited or over aroused, they're going to fall off the wall and things like that. And I guess that's probably the reason why bouldering or climbing does help ADHD and ADD to kind of like mitigate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. With regards to depression, because you're always constantly focusing only on what you need to do, you're not thinking about the depressing part of your life.
Yeah. That was me before
Yeah.
climbing.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like super, like I didn't know what I wanted to do in life and I didn't have anything like to work towards. And then when I discovered climbing, I was like, oh, this is something that I actually want to get better at. And it's like it gives you that focus to just problem solve, not only on the wall, but I feel like a lot of the things that you learn from rock climbing, the mindset, you bring it to your everyday life as well, which is great. Have you ever had that experience where like you've brought that climbing mindset into your personal life?
Well, it's quite unfair to say that climbing have made me like that, because I learned a lot of this characteristic when I was in the military.
Okay.
And it was because of from the military that I've learned this characteristic to learn to contain myself when I climb. Under high stress situation, under situations whereby I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I still need to perform. It's the same thing as when you're climbing. You're tired, you're exhausted, and you need to get to the next hold, to the next one. So there's this need to just focus on what you need to do to accomplish the task that you need to do, rather than going into the emotion and spiraling down into that emotion of I'm getting tired, and I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore, and then you start getting anxious, and then everything's just break apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So learning to know how to contain the emotions does help you to drive yourself a little bit further than what you thought you can't do. Yeah. And coaching a lot of my youth climbers here in Australia and Singapore, um, you find that a lot of these high level elite athletes, regardless of whichever field of sports that you think about, they all go through a certain level of depression. It's unavoidable because they're such high elite climbers. They need to keep it that way. It's hard to get not depressed.
I know.
You know what I mean? There's this certain expectation.
Life is
that's
just depressing, right?
Yeah, it's a matter of how you go. But the fact that they're so high up there, they see the whole world as them being there, and they need to maintain that standard. And constantly trying to maintain that standard is very tiring for them. And then because of that, if they do not know how to cope with it mentally, they go into depression. So you find a lot of high level athletes, regardless of swimming, even cheerleading, gymnasts and things like that, they all go through some form of depression. Sometimes they may not show it because they know how to cope with it. What was I going to say? Yes, and so I find that the athlete that's able to know how to control their emotion tend to do a lot better.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you think about every elite athlete being equal, that means they're just as strong. Physically, they're just the same, just as tall, just as arm span, that's the same, and things like that. The skill wise is the same, the strength wise is the same. Everything boils down to how they think. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
The mind is a powerful
That's right.
tool.
Yeah.
And it can either make or break you.
That's right. Yep.
What would your suggestion be for people who don't know how to control their mind? Not just for like athletes, but like just even everyday people. Like, how do you control your mind?
I think there's a need to know how to settle down and be still. And that's why some people go into, meditation, Pilates, yoga. Maybe not Pilates, yoga, or just knowing how to be still and not be busy in the head. You know what I mean? To be just constantly thinking about this, thinking about that, or what do I need to do next? What do I do? Sometimes it's good to just decide that, look, I don't need to know what I need to do next.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes relaxing and knowing that everything is fine, and learning how to I would to say clear the mind is very dangerous as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. To know how to control that positive thought in your head and keep it there, and think of all the lovely things in your life
Yeah.
at the point in time. All right, and just be happy for that 15 minutes and learn. And breathing techniques helps as well. If you know how to breathe normally or calmly, it tells the brain to calm down as well. If you just hyperventilate now, even though you're not tired or you're not stressed, your brain suddenly thinks that something is wrong.
Yeah.
And then it starts acting up and starts being stressed, even though there's no need to be stressed. So I think, which is why meditations also, they teach about breathing techniques and knowing how to control your mind and keeping still in one corner and things like that.
Yeah.
Which do you see me doing that? I don't really do that actually, but I get it. Yeah. Even when I'm driving, I'm just trying not to be too busy with my head, because that's probably why accident happens. No.
Exactly. People aren't paying attention
That's right.
to what's in front of them.
Yeah. So you just do what you need to do. When you drive, you just drive. Like, watch for the other cars and
Yeah.
yeah. I guess it goes along that line whereby, especially in this current day and age, there's so many things that we need to keep up with. Instagram Facebook. You guys do use Facebook?
I mean, I'm on it,
That's
but
right.
I'm old.
Okay.
I'm also old.
So all these things are constantly feeding information to us, the emails, your text messages and things like that. And I guess all of you have to admit, if you're driving a car and you place your phone there and you have your Google map driving and then you see a message going on there, straight away you have this urge that I need to check that message.
Yes, I have that urge
That's
all the
right, yeah.
time.
Okay. And then you can't focus on driving until you check that message.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and because all this information is just constantly bombarding us, our brain has got only so much bandwidth that it can handle. So, whatever that's needed to focus on driving is being taken away by all this other thing, and therefore, probably it's better to just buy a Tesla and let the car drive.
That's the way of the future, isn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
They're just trying to make life more easier for us to be
Yeah.
distracted.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and that's why we can't drive manual anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
You mentioned that you were in the military.
mhm.
Is that Singapore?
In
Singaporean
Singapore, that's right. Yeah.
military. What is like? I'm assuming a lot of the discipline that you learn has made you.
Well, if you talk about discipline, it goes back to my parents.
Oh, yeah. Asian
Yeah,
parents.
yeah. I think a lot of it, with regards to discipline, with regards to who am I or what I am, boils back down to I would say my primary school teachers, my secondary school teachers, my parents, the people around me that have influenced me and things like that. And then of course when I reached to the time when I had to serve what we call national service in Singapore, you would either be joining the fire brigade or the police force. Most of us will end up in the military, and I was in the military. And with everything that I was taught as a young boy, I didn't find the military hard. Most of my friends would say that the military was hard. I found it really enjoyable actually.
Okay.
Whereas friends of mine who were not able to, who were not brought up in an environment whereby they need to be disciplined at a certain time, found it really hard because now they have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
And because of that, they found it really, it's just not enjoyable when you're not trained to be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly, every morning you got to make sure you tidy up your bed. They flip a coin onto it. The coin needs to bounce onto your mattress and things like that. You know, have you watched?
I've never.
Yeah, never watched. Yeah. If you watch some of those old movies like Full Metal Jacket and things like that, they might even show you how they do the beds. They tighten up the bed sheet so tight that when you flip a coin in it, the coin will bounce up from the bed.
Wow. I've never made my bed like that before.
And then you have to polish your boots till it shines and things like that. And yeah, it's just that kind of discipline and cleanliness that we need to have as well in the barracks and things like that. And then it's all about obeying orders from your superior, from your officers and things like that. And sometimes they'll give orders that are just ridiculous, and you just have to still follow through it and things like that. And I guess that teaches me a lot of a lot of character building, whereby sometimes it's quite frustrating when I receive an order and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Why we need to do this or this. Sometimes it is just the foolishness of that officer who have given that order. But most of the time, it is because the officer is able to see a bigger picture of what's happening, and you are just a small part of it. You know what I mean? So to you, it doesn't make sense why I need to go there. But the officer wants you to go there because someone else is going there.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about this, it's all about military tactics and things like that.
Yeah.
So let's not go into into it yet.
It sounds like you're almost just like a piece of the puzzle.
That's right. Yeah. So you're a piece of puzzle to solve a big problem. But if you don't see what's happening on the other part of the chessboard, it doesn't make sense why this pawn is going up that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it makes it sound like we soldiers are pawn, but to a certain degree, it's like that.
Yeah.
Some sacrifices are required on the battlefield to a certain degree. Yep.
Wow, it got dark.
Yeah, I know, right?
But is that
Yep.
frustrating though? Like you're doing something and you don't know what it's for.
Which is why sometimes, which is something that this generation fail to understand, or even sometimes I would find it very hard to understand as well, is there's a need to serve the greater good sometimes. And over COVID-19 and over the fire crisis, I mean the forest fire crisis that we saw, we have the IFS who are volunteers who are not paid. They serve the greater good of going out there risking their life to fight the fire for communities who are living in these areas. Did they need to be there? They don't need to be there if you think about it. Yeah, they have got their own families, by the way. They've got their own houses to protect as well. But why were they deployed there to help? Because they felt that it was their duty as well. If you have watched this movie called, is it Winston Churchill or something like that? Yeah. And he made a call to, that was Duncan. They were trying to evacuate the soldiers out of Duncan. Because there was this massive army coming in, the Nazis were coming in to wipe them out. Winston Churchill ordered a small company that was far on the other side of the place to create as much distraction as possible, basically to sacrifice themselves to save the whole army.
Yeah.
Is it fair for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I leave it for you guys to decide. You know? Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you decide to go from Singapore to Australia?
Oh, it was actually the army.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was in the 2001 or 2002. It was actually after. It was just before September 11. No, it was after September 11. We were deployed to Rockhampton, north of
Queensland?
Queensland, that's right, north of Queensland. Yeah. And having trained in Southeast Asia, so I was training in places like Brunei, Thailand, and things like that, and Singapore, and it was always hot and humid. It was disgusting. There's like mosquito leeches and everything like that. It was just not nice running around the forest with your rifle and everything and stuff like that. And then when we had war games, we'll be crawling around in the mud and dirt and things like that. And it was just disgusting in this tropical environment. And then when we landed in Rockhampton, it was this almost desert-like environment. And I got out of the plane. It was hot, but I wasn't sweating.
Oh my, yeah.
And then I was like walking around, hey, this is nice. And then we were running around the place, holding our maps, looking at where we need to go and things like that. And it was like a big playground for us.
Yeah.
And we were not breaking a single sweat at all.
Amazing.
There was no leeches, there was no mosquitoes, there was lots of flies. Bloody flies.
Yeah, Australia and the flies, jeez.
Yep. So apart from that, I was saying the flies are way better than the leeches and the mosquitoes. Right? And that's when I thought, I'm going to come back here.
Yeah.
And how else do I come back here but to study here?
Yeah.
So when I went back to Singapore after that 1 month of training in Rockhampton, I spent some time researching on the different universities here in Australia. And I didn't want to go to a city university. That means I didn't want to go to, like, say, University of Sydney or University of Melbourne, because what I saw up in Rockhampton was what I wanted to go back to. I wanted to go back to somewhere that is natural, somewhere there's mountains, rivers, and the hills are alive, no sound music kind of thing. If I could go to Austria, I would go to Austria.
Yeah.
So and that's what I really liked. And then I came across Wollongong. And it sounds like a good place. I didn't know that Wollongong was a horrible place at the point.
Oh, really?
Well, it was a really nice place, but in terms of it was one of the highest crime rate environment at that point in time.
Yeah.
That was like 20 years ago.
So did you confuse Austria with Australia?
No, Austria. No, I did not get confused. But yeah, they sound alike, yep. Yeah, so, and then that was the Big Brother, right?
That was Big Brother. He came in, he dropped in.
So yeah, and then when I went to Wollongong, and then I spent a lot of time hiking in Mount Kira, that's what I mentioned to you, and that's where I first saw rock climbing as well. And that's how I got into rock climbing. Yep.
Yeah. So like Singapore is a pretty like busy country, like city wise. The few times I've been back, it's always like overwhelming in my opinion. And then, so have you seen it? Like you're living in the Blue Mountains now,
Yep,
right?
that's right.
What's it like going from like Singapore to the Blue Mountains?
Very quiet. um, the first time I moved into my house, my property with my wife, we were in this little room because that was the only room that was air conditioned, and we moved in summer,
Yeah.
and there was no furniture or anything like that. So we moved into that place. We turned on the aircon, and then that night it was so quiet. It was so eerie to a certain degree because it was so quiet. Yeah, and then the next day was so noisy because the birds were just chirping away and things like that. And it was a very nice, strange feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was because why I liked it was because I've always liked the nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever since I was a young boy, my mom would bring me to different places in Singapore, uh, the natural reserve in Singapore. And I would always enjoy these places apart from the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And the leeches.
Those damn
That's right. Yeah,
mosquitoes,
that's right.
man.
That's right. Yeah. So I really like these places, and I think what really got us to want to live in the mountains was because we went to Nepal as well, and of course, being a person who likes the mountain, who always want to be a mountain guide myself, um, I think it was just in me that I can't really say it was just in me. I think it was because of my mom. My mom was the first one who taught me how to climb a tree as well.
Oh.
It wasn't my dad; it was my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was actually my mom who encouraged me to do skateboarding and stuff like that. Yeah. She's
It's always
great.
the moms.
No, it's
Moms are-
always the
Oh,
dad.
you think
yeah.
so? My mom's pretty supportive. My
Okay,
dad's
yeah,
like,
okay.
"Ugh."
All right. Yeah. Yeah. My mom is crazy.
Yeah.
So.
We love crazy
Yeah,
moms.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. So she was the one who got me into mountain biking as well, and I think it was this constant exposure to all these outdoor activities that puts me in natural environment that makes me like natural environment. Yeah, and that's why I lived in the mountains. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I got so sick and tired of living in a modern city. Singapore, if you've been to Singapore, Singapore is a very, very modern city. So when I watch what's that show? Marvel.
Crazy Rich Asian.
Not Crazy Rich Asian. Not
Marvel, Shang-Chi.
not Shang-Chi. What's the whole group of them
Avengers.
That's right. And then when they showed Wakanda,
Oh, yes.
I was like, that's like Singapore.
Ah.
If you think about it, it's this very
It is.
modern city with lots of trees and things like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
they're trying to like make it greener in
Yeah.
Singapore, which I love as well. I think more cities need to, if they're going to build cities, it should be like Singapore.
Yeah. You know what? I think Australia is doing a lot like that as well.
Yeah.
And they're learning to be like that, where they're planting a lot of trees in there, which is good. Yeah, I'm glad they're doing something like that. Otherwise, there's some parts of Sydney is just barren. There's no trees at all.
That's true. It's like desert.
Yeah.
How did you become a climbing coach? Like, where was the transition?
Okay, so the transition from commerce to coaching, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. My life is a mess.
I love it though. Life's meant to
Yeah.
be messy.
So after I graduated, my professor actually recommended me that she can actually recommend me to KPMG, and she was gonna write couple of emails for me and recommend me to work there and stuff like that. And then I went back to Singapore. I had a chat with some of my friends who were working in KPMG and PwC and all those places, or the Big Four and stuff like that. And they were like working from 8 to 10 p.m., 8 to 12 a.m. It sounded like no life to me. And then coming straight from Australia, where work was from 9 to 5, anything after 5 was like something is wrong. I cannot be working after 5. So I said, nah, KPMG is not for me. I'm going to just hang on there and see if I can do something else. So I decided to take about like 6 to maybe like a gap year kind of thing, but I said about 6 to 8 months. So I thought, I'm going to spend 6 to 8 months just enjoying myself. So I went to apply a few jobs here and there with outdoor companies that does outdoor trips to Malaysia, Thailand, and we bring high school kids and do whitewater rafting, abseiling, and things like
Yeah.
that, camping and leeches and mosquitoes again.
Can't get away
That's
no
right,
matter how
yeah.
much you try.
Yeah, exactly, man.
I'll just follow you around.
That's right. So I really enjoyed myself doing those things, and then I also applied for a job in this rock climbing gym, and then they hired me as one of the junior managers, and then it just went from there. And then because I was specialized in human resource, change management, and things like that, I really liked the idea of changing and improving an organization to become a better management system. And because I was just only a junior manager in that organization at the point in time, I didn't really have much power to do anything like that. And that organization was somewhat a small business at the point in time, and you can't really do much with a small business. And then that's when I saw how I was, for some reason, there was a coach that we call him the Grandmaster in Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the coach of all coach kind of thing. And he and his girlfriend and or his wife now kind of saw me, and they handpicked me to train me as one of the coaches as well.
I see.
And the wife started developing me as a coach that was mainly coaching girls and stuff like that. So she was, yeah, and that's probably the reason why you see me coaching a lot of girls as well. Yeah. So she started teaching me to coach girls and young children and things like that. And so she kind of specializes me towards that direction, coaching young ladies, young girls, and kids, boys and girls. And I thought that was my calling. I thought that was what I like. I'm good at.
Yeah.
I thought I was really good at kids.
Yeah.
But every time I work with kids, I'll go back home feeling really exhausted. I know what to do.
Yeah.
I can do it. I can entertain them. I can train them well. But at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so stressful. Anytime I go there, I try to get him to do something he forgets next week.
Right,
It's all about repeating it over and over again. And I didn't realize that training kids is just like that. You just got to keep repeating. You just got to be patient with them. You just got to make them enjoy the activity as well. Well, being a young coach at the point in time, it's like, no, I want to see result tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or yesterday.
Oh god.
Yep. So, and then later on, I've got this bunch. I've got this friend of mine who was the PE teacher of this really high elite girls' school. They call it Reference Girls' School, RGS. And these girls would come into the climbing gym to just train, climb and have fun. And this PE teacher, he's busy. Most teachers are busy, and usually they take the time off to be with their students to help them with their outside activity and things like that. So he thought of a way to kind of be a bit lazy on that. So he spoke to me and said, hey, I need to do some work in school. Can I send the girls down to your gym, and then you just keep an eye on them? I said, yeah, sure. So these girls would just come in for about like 1 year just doing that. And then out of that group of, say, 15 girls, there were like about 4 to 5 of them who were really serious in climbing. And I didn't really know them at the point in time. So one of them came up to me and said, hey, can you sign this form for us, because we need an acting coach to join a competition in the French school. We have got a French school in Singapore at the point in time. It's still there, that were doing like sports climbing competitions at the point in time. So it was quite tough, the competition at the time over there in this French school. So I said, yeah, too easy. So I signed it. I went back to my work. And then that night I went back home thinking, my name is on it.
Yes.
Why not I coach these girls then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I took these 4 girls and 4 to 5 girls, and I drew them hard and coached them hard, and after 3 months, they were climbing equivalent to 23s, 24s on lead.
Wow.
They were only climbing like 16, 17s on lead at a point in time, and after 3 months, they were climbing 24s on lead, 23, 24s, and I'm like, whoa. And I didn't know the standard at the point in time. That was like 15 years ago. I didn't know the standard at the point in time that girls at that age couldn't climb that grades. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. At that time.
Yeah. Alice, yeah.
Yeah. In Singapore. So, and I just sent them out for competition and say, yeah, just go out and have fun. You're not going to win.
Typical Asian
Yeah,
parents.
I know, right? Yeah. You're never good enough.
Never good enough.
That's right. Yeah. So they went out there and they won.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that was their first ever competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
geez.
I was shocked because it was me and my friend. We were just sitting there talking and joking about it. Like, nah, the girls are never going to get into semifinals. Oh, they're going to semifinals. Nah, they're never going to get into final. Oh, wait, they're going to finals.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, she might get third. No, she's getting first. Oh, she's getting first. Did she get first?
Yeah.
And I was like, looking at my friend, did she get first? Because this other girl, all right, that was there, she went for the next hole, but she didn't hold on to it or something like that. But the girl that I was coaching, she went for that hole, she grabbed it, and she fell off.
Oh.
So we were like, did she grab it? Did she not grab it? And then so there was this 15 minutes there wondering what the result was, until when the result was out on paper, like, yeah, she won.
Oh my God.
That's right,
That
yeah.
must have been such a good feeling.
Yeah. And that was my first experience of that victory as a coach. And that feeling was pretty amazing. It was as if I won the game as well. Yeah. And it was that joy of watching my student winning the competition kind of drive me to want to see more of that. It became almost an obsession to want to train more people like that.
Yeah.
To win competitions. And it was a very Asian thing if you think about it. Yeah,
Yeah, that is a
That's
very
right.
Asian thing. I'm going to train you until
That's
you're
right,
the
yeah,
best.
until you die. That's right, yeah. And then I remember at one point in time I had to actually slow myself down to stop focusing on winning. And especially in Singapore, it was all about getting that first place, or about getting about 100% in your math, Chinese, or anything like that. It's just, 95% is not good enough. You know? If you watch Crazy Rich Asian, you know what I mean. Yeah, so I thought, I need to stop this culture somewhere. I need to get my students to understand that this sport is for you to enjoy, not to win. Yeah. And then when I came here to Australia, and that's when I first got to train 3 young, really talented boys, Sam, Liam, and Mitchell. And I was so worried that they would become like those Singaporean boys and girls who are just focusing on winning only.
Yeah.
And I remember always telling them that they have to enjoy the sport. If competition is not for you, go outdoors and enjoy yourself and things like that. And I must say I'm really happy to see that a lot of them, people like Sam and Liam right now, are still just enjoying the sport. I mean, I've not really spoken to them for a long time, but when I watch them climb, they do look like they're enjoying themselves, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's a good sign,
That's
I think.
right, yeah. So, and because they're enjoying themselves, they're also winning competitions, if you think about it. Yeah.
I mean, that's important. You have to be passionate about what you're doing, and not just doing it to achieve a certain outcome, I think.
That's right, yeah. And then right now, I think there's this balance to play as well, whereby just having fun may not be good enough. You need to learn how to achieve something further than what you can do, and enjoy that achievement as well.
Yes.
And then that joy becomes more real when you can see yourself improving constantly, rather than just being stagnant at one grade itself. Yeah. And then the next boy would be Dylan Park. I think you all have seen him before. I just recently brought him to Singapore, and he's only this 15-year-old boy going up against older boys in the open category, and he got 6th placing in finals. Yeah. And throughout the whole time, he was just playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. For semi-finals, he was just playing. For finals, he was just playing, but not for qualifiers because he was so nervous.
Right.
Yeah. So for qualifiers, in his mind was, I got to get all these climbs.
Yeah.
And because of that, he didn't perform.
Yeah.
And then when he went into semi-finals, I said, "Look, you're not gonna get into finals." The same thing that I said to the girls when I first taught this bunch of girls, right? There is no way you can get into finals, right? Just enjoy yourself, right? So if he went in there and enjoyed himself into finals,
Oh my God, that's the trick. You have to like not put pressure on yourself.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are starting to get into climbing? I mean, the whole thing about enjoying yourself is really important.
I guess climbing is something that most people don't realize how technical it is. How it requires so much skill that you can't figure it out yourself. If you don't have the money to get a coach or to just go for classes, at least hang out with friends who know how to climb and learn from them. Don't try to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's like trying to figure out what pi is 3.14.
Yeah.
You know how long that guy took to figure out 3.14?
A long time.
His whole life, basically. All right? So if you want to try to figure out you're going to try and figure out how to find the area of a circle by yourself, you're in trouble, man.
Yeah.
Just accept it that pi is 3.14. Just like the same thing for climbing itself, there are many techniques out there that has been well established, that has been figured out by great climbers in the past. You just learn from them and apply these techniques appropriately for the climb itself. and then practice, just practice and practice and practice. Yeah. Now, sometimes that itself is not good enough because, take for example, badminton.
Another very Asian sport.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Badminton, yes.
Okay, or table tennis. Fine, right? Let's use table
Yes, let's
tennis.
go.
Okay, since everybody has played table tennis in 9 degrees, and stuff like that, or most of the gyms have got table tennis in there right now, and you can see the fine motor skills in the way you hold a table tennis bat and how the skill is required to hit the ball across the table with strength and techniques. That means you need to get the right stroke for it. If you've watched Forrest Gump
Yes.
and you saw how he was training for table tennis, he was just doing the stroke over and over and over and over again. And that's what the Chinese were doing a long, long time ago. They just got these kids to get the strokes doing that over and over and over again until it becomes like muscle memory, so much so that they were just winning table tennis games like that because they were practicing over and over and over again. And then later on, when they've got the stroke right, they put the strength in. And then when the strength comes in with the stroke, it becomes such a deadly smash with that stroke and that force itself. So technique and power comes in together to create such powerful smash from the bat itself. And so knowing the technique and having somebody to correct your technique constantly to get it right is very important, because if you don't do it right and one day you try to smash the ping pong ball, you're going to injure your shoulder.
Yeah.
Because I have friends of mine who have played badminton and they try to smash with their racket and they dislocate their shoulders. And that's just badminton by itself, whereby the ball is so light.
Yeah.
What do you think about climbing?
Yeah.
You're handling your whole body itself, yep. And here you are trying to go for a dyno, trying to go for a dead point and things like that. And that's why if you walk in the gym right now, you see a lot of people with shoulder injuries, elbows injuries, and wrist injury, because they're not really, they think they are, but they're really not adopting correct techniques with the applied force on it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then because their posture is not right and they're putting in so much force on their joints, it's going to give up.
That's true.
Yep.
Okay, Chieh, I think you need to actually teach me the right techniques.
Looking at how you climb, I didn't have much to say because you look like you're still doing fine.
Oh,
And that's where some people are talented like you. Okay, yeah, I know you're like, oh.
What? Me? A talented
okay,
climber?
yeah. Some people who are talented like you, who are able to observe another good climber and just replicate it. Not everybody's like you.
Right.
Yeah. And you find that a very small percentage of people are like that. And that's why you find a lot of people getting injured. That's why. Yep. So not everybody is a Ashima, not everybody is a Krishama, not everybody is a Edamondra or a Yanya. All right. So that means, why is it that when I say let's go get coaching for tennis, you're like, yeah, that's fine, let's do it. Let's go get coaching for yoga and things like that. Yeah, let's go for classes. But when I say get classes for climbing, like, nah, I can do that myself.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Yeah.
for me, like, I always saw climbing as like an individual sport, but I actually learned a lot just by observing other people. And I think a lot of people just go into it thinking, oh, I got this, I can do it. It all requires strength and stuff. But
Yep.
yeah, it's really important to actually observe
Yep.
other people and how they climb, which is why I love watching like the Olympic climbers and how graceful they look when they climb.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm just like secretly observing your classes.
Stalker.
I'm like, oh, I want to
Yeah.
climb like that one day. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody have got their different ability to learn. And if you're just doing this leisurely and you've got the gift of observing someone else who's better than you and learn from that somebody else, yeah, good on you, you know. But most people are not like that. Most people do need some direction. And if you go to any climbing gyms right now, they all have got a fundamental class and things like that. Just jump into one of their classes and learn some of the basic techniques and things like that, so that at least you're not going to get yourself injured. Because if you get yourself injured, most of the time you're out of the game for 3 to 6 months once you get yourself injured, and then you're back to square one again. And then every time you injure something, your brain is reprogrammed to use some other muscle groups that you would injure that muscle group again, and then and that's why people who get injured always constantly getting injured and then again and again and again, because they're compensating and things like that.
Yeah.
And it becomes very, very frustrating for this athlete, and then they can't figure it out until they find a physio. A good physio will be like Lee Causey, you know what I mean? Like, go look
Yeah.
for him and he will sort it out for you, and then he'll tell you what you need to do, what you shouldn't be doing, and then once that's corrected, once you've done all the rehab that a physio have got you do, all right, and then you're strengthened, the next thing is to get the coach to get you to move correctly. Yeah. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Are you listening, big brother?
I actually felt like I could become a better climber because my arm was injured, which makes me want to use my leg more.
That's true.
Interesting. So
It's like,
I think there was this guy, I can't remember who he is. I'm not sure whether it's Chris Linder or something like that. His dad got injured, and because his dad got injured, he was bedridden for a while, and he could only train his arms. And being a typical old climber, they are very lean, and they're always climbing with their legs and things like that. And so his dad could only spend the time just developing his upper body strength. And because that was something that he neglected, and then after he got out of the hospital, he was so upper body strong that now with his strong legs and strong upper body, he was able to climb way better.
yeah. You've got to train everything. I actually didn't realize how much like legs you need to climb. I always thought it was just like arms and grip strength. So yeah.
Yeah. You need the whole full body tension of your body, and so if you look at a climber like Kim Jae-in, she's almost a perfect example of knowing how to control that whole full body tension, and so much so that when she does a dead point or a dyno, it looks like she's doing statically.
Yeah. Freaking amazing.
Yeah.
The climbing community, I want to talk a bit about that. I feel like there's a lot more Asians now doing the climbing, which is like, you know, our parents are like, oh, it's too dangerous and stuff. How does it make you feel to see more like people joining that?
I think it's our defiance.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, that's right. I don't know. That's something that I've noticed in Australia, especially that the Southeast Asians meaning, okay, maybe not Southeast Asians. We're talking about like the Indonesians who've got some of the fastest climbers in the world right now.
Yeah.
The Thais, the Filipinos, Singaporeans, Malaysians, Hong Kongers, Koreans, South Koreans, I mean.
All Koreans.
Don't know, maybe some North Koreans secretly doing right now.
Yeah. The Japanese.
The Japanese, yeah. They're suddenly coming to this scene with full force.
Yeah.
Even though the Europeans and the Americans were kind of mainly the Europeans were the first few founders of sports climbing itself. The French, who were very much the inventors of sport climbing. I feel that Asians tend to have this characteristic of just wanting to try something new. Like bubble tea, we have to try every bubble tea.
Yeah, we have to try every single flavor, right?
Yeah. Whereas when you get your Australian friend, they'd be quite conservative. They were like,
That's so true.
isn't it, right?
Like, with like food and everything.
that's right,
Like they don't want to try the chicken feet.
Yeah.
Like eat the chicken feet.
Yeah. So I think it's because of that characteristic that Asians are. We just want to try everything. And then when sport climbing came into our country, we didn't think it was a kid sport. We didn't think it was a birthday party kid thing. We just wanted to try it, right?
Yeah.
When I don't know, all kind of stupid things we just wanted to try, like neoprene. Have you heard of neoprene?
What is new?
Never mind. That's so long ago. You reflect my age.
Yeah.
It's this machine whereby all the kids will just go into this machine and take photos of themselves, and it comes out this small little print that they paste it on everywhere. It's like that was like, my goodness, 25 years ago, and we spent lots of money just getting all these stupid stickers and things like that, and it's very Japanese if you think about it.
Yeah. The photo booths.
Exactly. Yeah, we call them neoprints. Yeah. What else did we just jumped into it? Look at all the food that the Japanese have. Like,
I know.
all this. What's that?
This is
Show it to them. Yeah.
this is coconut pandan mochi.
Yeah.
And then this is a nice specialty of like Singapore and
Yeah.
Malaysia.
I know, right.
It's durian biscuit. Yeah.
I need to put a sign saying no Durian in the studio.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Yeah. So the kind of vibrancy of these products, just it's always very colorful, and there's so many variety of things that you will see in each product, just to entice stupid Asians like us to try them.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, nice glowy things. Oh, it's pink. It's colorful. You just have to try it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It's a new flavor.
That's right. And then you walk into a climbing gym, you see all these candy-looking holes.
Yeah.
It's hard to resist if you think about it.
So you're saying it's the colorfulness of it that's
Maybe,
attracting all the Asians.
Yeah, that's right. Don't know. Yeah, we're just suckers for these things. I think
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, but I think a lot of it also goes down to how we like things like Sudoku, solving puzzles.
Yes.
And so because we enjoy doing these things as a teenager, we like solving Sudokus and puzzles and things like that. Brick games.
Yeah.
And then now we see this real life thing that we can actually do it physically.
Yeah.
Let's do it, And then the minute we solve a problem, and I think that's where the research shows that every time you solve a problem, endorphin just goes into your brain and then it makes you happy. That's why depression goes away, kind of thing. Yeah. And that's why a lot of gyms right now, they will deliberately make climbs that there's always a portion of climbs whereby you can fight enough, all right, that you will definitely finish it for that day to fire off that burst of endorphin into your head to make you feel really good about yourself today that you want to come back tomorrow again.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm coming back.
Yeah. So it's an addiction if you think about it.
It is an
Yeah.
addiction, but it's a good addiction, I
Yeah.
think. There's so many other things you could be
It's a very
doing.
healthy addiction.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of climbers started off smoking weed a long time ago before this.
That's probably to help heal the joints.
Okay.
That's
The CBD.
Okay.
CBD oil.
Maybe. Yep. So I don't know. I think it's just cultural.
Yeah.
I think it's just culture because if you look at, I just okay. I've got a really good friend of mine who's an Indian. Right. I just cannot get him to climb.
Right.
Yep. He likes cricket more than anything else.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, when I think of Asians, the stereotype is that, we're quiet, we kind of like very studious, we study, we're very obedient. And I feel like climbing kind of breaks all of those stereotypes.
Don't know. Maybe it's just that. No, you can't really say that climbing. Okay, I was just talking to one of my youth climbers I was just training. She drove in from Canberra to train this morning.
Yeah.
In Sydney, and then I was talking to mom, and I said this is something that I've observed about all the climbers that I've trained, right down to Sam and Lim and stuff. They're all very smart. They all have really high HSC grades and things like that. And the ones who do well in climbing would do well in their studies.
Yeah. Oh, makes
Yeah.
sense now.
So now let's reverse it the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay, we Asians are forced to do well in our studies because we don't have a choice.
Yeah. Do well or die.
That's right. Yeah. Therefore, now when we're doing something like climbing, we can do well in it and then enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
Unlike you better do well as you die.
Yeah.
You cannot die because you fall and
Yeah,
hit the
well.
ground. Yeah. So I think that maybe that same notion is kind of replicated onto climbing as well, whereby you see the problem solving aspect of it. You see the need to solve it, and there are different ways to solve it. And plus the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because Asians tend to be more collective than anything else.
That's true.
Oh my goodness, I'm being so stereotyping on us. So this is racist against us, isn't it?
Yeah.
So because of that, in a climbing center environment, there's this whole collectiveness of climbers together, cheering for each other, very supportive, most of the time. Hopefully, stays that way. And because of that element of supportiveness and problem solving and physical ability that's required as well. So everything together. And then recently, a research in America shows that climbing gyms are the new Tinder.
Oh,
Do you read that? Do you see that? Yeah.
yes. Actually, I'm dating and I'm like, I wonder who I can meet in the climbing gym today.
Chieh, do you have any cute Asian single climbers?
I'll let you
Aged
know next time,
between
right?
29 to 35. That will be perfect.
Oh, okay, all right.
Look out for me.
Yeah, I've personally seen a few of my students in the past. They will come from my class, and then a few years later they'll get married.
Oh my God. So you're actually secretly also a matchmaker.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you guys not know. Yeah, just keep quiet. Yeah, they do.
The
pay
secret
me.
to all great marriages is climb together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because climbing is so addictive, right? It's quite hard, in my opinion, not to find another partner who is not a climber. Because can you imagine, right? Okay, let's say I'm dating this girl, all right, and then this girl wants to watch a movie or go shopping and stuff like that. All I'm thinking over the weekend is to get back out in the mountains.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not gonna work out, man.
Yeah. You
Seriously,
need
yeah.
somebody who's like like-minded
That's
and
right,
enjoys
yeah.
climbing as well. I can see that now. Now that I'm into climbing. Oh, it's ruined us.
Don't know. Yeah. So, like, going back to what I was talking about, which is very, very interesting, is that the first 4 girls that I taught 15 over years ago were from elite schools, the brightest of Singapore. They were groomed to become ministers, lawyers, doctors, the blah, 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 typical Asian.
Yeah.
All right. And sure enough, one of them is a Cambridge scholar.
Wow.
2 of them are doctors now.
Yeah.
And one of them is an accountant in KPMG. everything that I want to do.
Yeah.
And they climb so well,
Yeah.
at the point in time. I mean, they're quite old now. I'll not disclose their age.
Yeah.
But, and then everything after that, Sam, Liam, very smart boys as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now when I look at all the kids within the group that I'm teaching right now, people like Dylan, he doesn't study much. If you look at him, he's this really naughty, lazy boy, but he still just get A's. Well, maybe now he's getting B's. Yeah, but you can see how how smart they are, and how intelligent they are, and because of that, that reflects on how they climb as well. They're very intelligent climbers. They're very, very smart climbers. They don't just use their strength. They think about how to use their strength. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's what cuts them above everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's probably why we also have so many Asian climbers just slowly rising up so quickly and a lot faster in Japan and South Korea. It's like you go to Japan, my goodness, the climbs there are insane.
I know. I've seen like Instagram videos like, what the heck are these guys doing?
Every normal climber is climbing way harder than some of our top climbers here. Yeah, so I think it's education.
Yeah. Just be smart. Get the parents to like drill them, study hard.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for the conversation. Did I have coconut pandan mochi and durian biscuit for you to try?
Yeah, Durian biscuit, please.
Okay.
I've not.
Here you go.
So I just came back from Singapore.
Yes.
And
you were doing a coaching thing there?
No, I was actually there because of Dylan.
Okay.
There was a competition. There's a competition called Graphical. And it's been a really long time since Singapore actually was able to organize a competition like that over there. And usually when they organize a competition like that over there, they will invite like Japanese route setters, European route setters and things like that, and to really set these big major competitions that within the region itself, Indonesians, Thailands, and Philippine people just come to Singapore and compete.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that for nearly 2 years because of the COVID-19.
Yeah. And
so when this happened, it was such an exciting thing for Singapore. But Malaysia, some of the Malaysians tried to come over and stuff like that. But because of the situation in Malaysia, they couldn't come over.
Yeah.
So it was mainly Singaporeans. And I was fortunate enough to get Dylan in. And I guess he was the only foreigner there. And he was the only Australian there. But there were expats there. There were other foreigners climbing there as well who are working there, and their kids are participating in the competition there. And I was mainly there for that. And my main aim was to put Dylan in an environment whereby the competition is so hard that he will lose.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted him to lose, basically.
Do you think it's a good thing to lose?
Asian
Yeah, I know,
parents.
right? Yeah.
I mean, I think it's good to like lose once in a while.
Yeah.
It teaches you like you're not the best. You have more to learn.
Yeah. I wanted him to know what is it like out there, even just within the Asian region.
Yeah.
And when he sees the gap that if I can't even compete in the Asian region, what makes me think I can go up against the international region? Internationally, it's going to be way harder than what he just felt a few weeks ago. Yeah.
So you just want to give him a humble pie.
Yeah, just slap his face, basically. Yep.
Or a humble durian
Durian,
pie.
that's right, yep.
I can smell the durian.
So in Singapore, all right, every time when I go back to Singapore, I would definitely eat durian.
Yeah.
Right.
Durian's so good.
Yeah.
And Singaporean mud crab.
Yeah, that's right, the chili crab. Yeah. And chili crab. They've got everything there is good.
Everything's so
yeah.
good.
The food there is so good that when I went there for 3 weeks. All right, I was 67 kg on the first week, and I was 71 kg on the third week.
The joys of food.
I had a lot of good food, and one thing that I missed was actually durian.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to eat durian there.
Well, I'm glad that I can give you some durian
I
biscuits.
know, it's not the real thing. Oh, do you know what this means?
No.
Oh, it's actually called Mao Sang Wang. Okay, my Chinese is really bad.
Is it bad?
Yeah, not my Chinese is really bad. Yeah, but Mao Sang Wang. Oh my goodness, I didn't even pronounce that right.
Mao Sang Wang.
Yeah,
I'm really bad.
Yeah, so yeah, yeah,
Mandarin, but
that's
yeah.
right. Yeah. Oh my goodness, we
We're-
Asian
I know.
white blood kind of thing. So basically, that's cat, mountain, and emperor.
Cat Mountain Emperor.
That's right. Yeah.
Where's it made?
Oh,
It is a. Oh, that's a very good question. Manufactured by
Ipoh. That's in Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Yeah,
It is.
that's
It's
right.
Malaysian.
Yeah. So Malaysia has got some of the best. This is a breed of durian that they've got some of the best durians in the world.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this should be good.
I hope so.
It's probably just flavor.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
I can't open it.
Talk about climbers.
Supposed to
my
have super grip
Grip
strength.
strength.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a try.
Oh, I can smell it now. Okay. My wife doesn't like durian.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she says that I can't kiss her whenever I eat durian.
In for a bad night tonight.
How is it?
The real durian is better.
Yeah, real durian is
yeah.
better. But it's not too bad. Satisfying.
I have a theory why more Asians are climbing. It's because they already smashed all the academics. So they got nothing else to achieve. Now they're taking over sports.
I think it's also the resilience and persistence that is cultivated in these academic people, that you need to be patient, especially when you're writing a thesis or research and things like that. And that 1 year or 3 years doing a PhD, you don't see the full result until the end. And that constant gathering of resources, reading of literature reviews and things like that, and putting all these things together into this masterpiece, which is your final research, to come to a conclusion of what you're trying to research. And then you feel that satisfaction right at the end of that year or that 3 years, depending whether is it an honors degree or PhD and things like that. Some people take 5 years to get a PhD. I know that some people take even 9 years to do a PhD. Yeah. So it's that understanding of knowing how to be patient and persevere hard until you can enjoy the fruits of it after a period of time.
Yeah.
And for a boulderer to be hitting a project like week after weeks after weeks, and then after that, just before they tear it down, you just that week itself, you try hard and finish it, and when you actually finally finish it, it's really, I mean,
It feels so damn
yeah,
good.
that's right. Yeah. Yep.
It's like, oh, all
Yeah.
that time that you've been like practicing, here's the result.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think maybe it's just this it's the same notion as somebody who studies really hard and putting in. I don't think it's just studying per se. You know, you can even apply it to a carpenter who spends so much time on the furniture, and then finally, you know, at the start he's just carving out this thing, and it's just pieces of wood here and there, and it doesn't look nice. And then at the end, you see a table, but it's not finished yet, and then he starts sanding it down, and it's still not finished yet, and then he puts that layer of lacquer over it, and things like that. And then finally, after like a few weeks later, it's this really beautiful table, and like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and to do something that requires so much mastery and skill to make a beautiful desk, and then you finally see the end result, it's just
It's satisfying.
satisfying. That's right. Yeah.
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 So where can people find you on social media if they want to get a bit of your coaching or just to say hi
Or life philosophy.
or life philosophy?
Or they need to go to a boot camp.
Or they need to find that Tinder match. Where can
Oh,
people...
that's a new business. Yeah, climbing to dating.
Yeah. Where...
That's a great service. Chieh, I've got you a new business proposal.
For her.
No, for your business. You're gonna like climb and date and find your lifetime partner.
There is.
I think people are already doing that.
They are naturally, I think, already doing like finding people.
So I think I was reading this article, right? About how they say that climbing gyms are like the new Tinder. I remember a long, long time ago when going to a disco is where young people meet up together and try to find their partner. And then later on, it goes into even a library can be a place where you can find your partner as well. Yeah. And then the older people go to like a bar or things like that to find a partner. Not the best place actually.
They have alcohol in common.
That's right. Yeah. It's quite hard to distinguish character and how beautiful you are as well.
So you have a mission, Chieh.
Yeah.
You gotta find her a
Well,
Me.
cute partner. Yeah.
he doesn't have to.
So it's my job right now.
Yes, it's not
yes,
his
yes,
job.
yes, please.
So what they say is that currently now, because for somebody to walk into a bar to pick up a girl doesn't sound too sexy anymore.
No.
Yeah. In fact, it sounds a bit so dodgy, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So now going to yoga is probably a safer place to be because you're all doing something healthy together. You're all doing something that is considered respectful. Yeah, rather than going there getting drunk and trying to pick up a girl and things like that. Yeah. And it's so the same for climbing as well. And climbing is so much easier because you get to interact with each other. Because yoga, you're not really interacting with each other. You're kind of like very internalizing yourself. And then when the whole class ends, you probably can try and pick up the girl next to the guy next to you.
Yeah.
And that's if you have got time to talk to you. Whereas in the climbing, there's just so much talking. There's so much people asking, "Hey, what's that beta? What's that beta?" and stuff like that. Hey, what's your name?
Yeah.
after figuring out the beta, and then hey, my name is Chieh and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, oh, she's pretty. Maybe
Yeah.
I should ask her out. And then climbers tend to go back to the gym over and over again, and you keep seeing the same people over and over again, and it's hard not to find your partner there, you know what I mean, to a certain degree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then not only that, you can observe that potential partner.
So which gym do you recommend has the most single men?
Oh my God, Big Brother.
I personally feel it's 9 degrees.
9 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
9
try to
degrees
know
and
these more.
blockhouse, yeah.
I go to Blockhouse a bit.
Right.
This podcast just turned into like a
dear.
dating advice for climbers.
Well, actually, to think about it, climbing is one of the best dates you can go to
It's true. I try to get people to
because
come
you can really
climbing.
tell how committed one person is. You can check out their bodies.
The characteristics, I mean, yeah. That's what I was
That's what
talking
you were
about.
talking about.
And
just
to
a-
see how mentally strong they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I used to tell my some of my friends is that, you know, if you want to know how well that girl or that boy is, you put them in a team sport or something like that, and you watch them. And if you see if they're that person that's able to pass the ball to you when you call for it, or he's just totally absorbed on himself to want to just score the goal by himself. And then if he doesn't, does he go crazy and go mad about it? He slams the ball, just kick the door and things like that. And you're able to, you know, identify the characteristic of these individuals just by just watching the team sport itself.
That's true. And how they work with other people.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty about climbing. Like, it seems very encouraging to see someone else achieving the top. You know, you rarely do go, oh, damn, that person got it.
Yep. Yeah. So I think the sport is still very much like that, whereby people are still very cooperative. People are still trying to cheer you on and things like that.
Happy to help.
That's right.
and
Yeah.
Give advice and
Yeah.
tips.
You always get that 1 to 5% of the people just sitting in one corner, just looking at you. Oh, he got it, damn it.
Those are not the people you want to be around.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, in any sport or in anything, you always get that 5%
Yeah.
of people who are like that, and I feel that's where when you ask me about how the climbing scene is becoming so popular, I paused for a really long time thinking about it because there's so many of these other negative aspects of it is coming into the city climbing gym. So if you think about fitness gyms like 24 hours fitness and stuff like that, And you go in there, and then you see guys just constantly trying to show off their strength too.
Yeah.
It's almost a culture whereby you're just trying to outwit each other in who is looking better, who is stronger, and things like that. And then when the girls comes in, it gets even worse. It gets amplified even more. Yep. And that hasn't really creeped into our climbing gyms yet, but you're slowly seeing it happening. You know what I mean? That ego of climbers wanting to show off that I'm better than you kind of thing
Yeah.
is slowly creeping into the commercial gyms in the city itself, and then you see this elite bunch of people at one corner of the gym just trying to dominate the place as if this is my ground.
Yeah.
And it's not nice, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, because a big reason why I don't go to like a gym, like a normal gym, is because it feels so intimidating. Everyone's just like looking at, like, you feel
Judge all the time.
judged.
Yeah.
And I love going to the climbing gym because everyone's so like happy to help you, happy to give you advice, and it's just like, you know, no matter what grade you are at, you feel comfortable, which is what I love. And I hope that doesn't happen, like the gym intimidating feeling. I hope that doesn't happen with climbing.
That's okay. We can get you to intimidate him back.
No, I usually get my students to do it.
Hey, I seen you climbing. I'm just like, holy smokes.
No, I mean, like, compared to my students, they're like, oh my goodness. I'll sit there sometimes just watching them, and I'm like, how am I ever gonna do that?
But you
You know, there was once, right? I made this climb for Hugo, and not just Hugo. I even made it for one of the girls. This Canberra girl called Liz. Some of you might not even know her. She came, and then I was just trying to make this hard climb for her, and then she did it, and then I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to tell her that I can't do it. So when she went back the next day, I came back in to the gym to try to do it myself, and I couldn't do it. That was hard.
a bit of humble pie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So where can people? What's your social
Okay.
media?
So my social media is, you probably can find me on Instagram. I just realized that people don't use Facebook anymore. I feel
not
so old right now.
really. Everyone usually uses
Yeah.
Instagram
Yeah, that's right.
or
So-
TikTok.
Why on earth is that? Yeah.
You gotta be on TikTok, Joe.
No, I'm not on TikTok. So my Instagram is chew.grid-climbing. So CHEW.grid-climbing. So GRITCLIMBING. So Grid Climbing is actually the company that me and my partners have set up here in east of Australia, which we try to help the climbers in like Sydney, Canberra, and Melbourne, and a bit of Adelaide.
Well, thank you for joining me on the lounge. It was a really good conversation, and I guess I'll catch you around in the gym.
Yep. No worries.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.